I'm Soos here for Rebel News, and I am on location at Southside Victory Church here in Calgary, Alberta, where the Calgary-Lougheed Constituency Association of the United Conservative Party of Alberta is hosting one of a series of town halls taking place right across this province, in which Premier Danielle Smith will state her case and provide a report card of sorts of the work she is doing to honor election and leadership commitments that she has made. With the UCP AGM featuring a leadership review, these events are critical as far as garnering support and ensuring that she does carry on as the leader of the UCP and that there is not a leadership race declared should that review go the wrong way. We were very fortunate to join Premier Danielle Smith for an exclusive interview in order to ask her some critical questions that Albertans want answers to. So will Albertans be seeing tax cuts, or at least a plan for tax cuts in the foreseeable future?
Well, there is a plan for tax cuts, but I think what you're asking is if people will see an accelerated plan for tax cuts. And I can say yes. From what we are seeing, one of the things that we were concerned about was making sure that any tax cut that we do is not going to put us into a deficit position. With the uncertainty that we saw in oil and gas prices, some of the uncertainty about how other sources of revenue would grow, with the growth in the province and the growth in revenue, we wanted to be absolutely certain that this $1.4 billion tax cut wouldn't put us into deficit. We're getting more of that certainty, and as my finance minister gets more confidence, we'll be able to develop an accelerated timeline.
So we are hammering the feds on their outrageous electricity policies, their energy production caps, their carbon taxes, their drug and bail policies, which is just catch and release, and so much more. It will continue to do so until Justin Trudeau is replaced by Pierre Poilievre and his team in 2025.
What do you think are the sort of most critical issues that Danielle Smith addressed and is committed to address moving forward?
I think probably the one that she committed to addressing moving forward was probably the tax, and the fact that she's going to expedite that and that she's heard Albertans loud and clear. I would like to think that hopefully the 1905 committee had a little bit of influence on that and making that issue known to her. So I think that's probably the one that she's addressed that we'll probably see some action on here quickly in the fall.
One of the most concerning issues for Canadians, but particularly Albertans, seen as we're seeing a disproportionate amount of migration, whether it be interprovincial or international, is the capacity to catch up on housing utilities. Is Alberta planning to pause immigration, at least international immigration, until we can catch up?
Well, as you know, the overall numbers of immigration are determined by the federal government. And I would say that we have the ability, based on what I've seen with our housing starts, they've increased 56% year over year. We have the ability to build 40,000 homes this year, which should be able to accommodate about 100,000 people, which is amazing. But we did have 200,000 people join us last year. And I think you're seeing the premiers all asking the same thing of the federal government is, number one, we've got to match the pace of newcomers with the pace of being able to build housing, build schools, provide healthcare. And right now there's a mismatch. I think the government's realized that on international students, but that's one of the things that you'll see all of the premiers saying is that we've got to get a better balance here. And then in addition to that, if there are a large number of people coming in who require supports, the federal government has to help with those supports. That was the point that François Legault had made about other provinces being able to manage that share of the burden. Alberta is already receiving 22% of the newcomers, even though we're only 12% of the population. So we find ourselves in the same position as Premier Legault, and we think that the federal government should be fair in how they're helping to support provinces dealing with that.
I think she's doing it. She is supporting what people are telling her about. She cares about everything, whether it's healthcare, infrastructure, no matter what it is, children in the schools. She is tackling everything so well. If she doesn't have the answer, she just told us tonight, then she is looking into it. She's investigating. She's trying to find out what the answers are. She's not leaving a stone unturned, and what I love is she answers every question, and she answers it with a lot of details. As I said, if she doesn't know that answer, she will find the answer. She's digging to get that.
Now, many in the media were pretty quick to look the other way when Justin Trudeau engages in some extracurricular activities, but members of the UCP, even if they're doing it on their own time, were lambasted for going to Oilers games or hopping on planes or whatever it may be. What efforts are being made to ensure that things within the UCP don't go the way of the Sky Palace and Redford entitlement, and to ensure that politicians for the UCP continue working for the people?
Well, I think we have to remember that we are very, very strict on how we spend taxpayer dollars. And we've got very rigid rules about what you can expense and what you cannot expense. And I take that very seriously. There are many, many events that I attend where there's no ticket charge, where they're free. And I love to go to many of those events. There's some events that do have a ticket charge to them. And I'll be judicious about it. I'll take feedback from the public about what they think is appropriate and what's not. And we'll see if we need to tighten up the rules. But I think what I have seen is that people want me to be out celebrating with them. They want me to be there, whether it's an air show or whether it's a charity fundraiser or whether it's a hockey game in Edmonton or a hockey game in my own riding. People want me to take part in celebrating with them. So I want to be able to keep on doing that, but this is not something taxpayers should pay for. That's going to be the bottom line that people need to understand, is these are not taxpayer dollars.
We saw tonight come up time and time again were health issues. There was still a lot of questions about vaccination, bodily autonomy, choice, whether maybe, the mRNA vaccines would be discontinued. And some people, were happy with the answers, and some people seemed like they wanted a little bit more clarification.
Many concerned with sort of sovereignty and who supported you with some of the sovereignty pushes. I kind of feel like maybe the Alberta Pension Plan and the Alberta Police Force have been put sort of on the shelf for the time being. Is there any progress being made on that? Is that something that folks who are inclined towards that will be seeing in the foreseeable future?
Well, we just affirmed that our sheriffs are a police. We've changed the act so that they can be governed as police. I see that there is an effort for a police association to start up to be able to represent them. And I think that's important so that you can have interoperability between the different forces. I think our sheriffs are doing a tremendous job for us, and they're doing very high order policing functions, whether it's highway patrol or surveillance or shutting down drug houses or going after fugitives. Like, these are important policing jobs. So we had to affirm what they already are doing. And more and more people are wanting to join the sheriffs as a result. So we have also supported all of our municipalities in asking for a grant so that they can pursue the policing option that works for them. In the case of Grand Prairie, they looked at it and said, you know what, we'd get better policing at a lower cost by having our own municipal force. And they're in the process of transitioning. There are a couple of other communities that have asked us to establish a sheriff's detachment. So we're analyzing that. There are still others who are doing a study to see whether they should set up a regional police force. What we want to do is be as supportive of the choices of municipalities as we can. That's on that issue. On the issue of a pension plan, what we heard is that somewhere around 40% of the public want more information. They want to know, what is the transfer value, what are the actual amount of the premiums, and what is the actual amount of the increased benefits. We can't answer that until the federal government finishes its work. They've told us that they've got 3 actuaries that are analyzing our report, analyzing the legislation, and will come back with us with a number in the fall, at which point we'll go back out to Albertans and see if they want to have a referendum.
The biggest thing that she got her support from in her leadership campaign was the push for COVID accountability. We were in the endemic, if I may call it that, and she really hammered on the track record of the previous administration, the previous UCP administration. That has gone completely soft, and even the questions today, many of them, and I mean even some of the questions that are coming from the grassroots CAs that'll lead into the AGM around the vaccines and the information that's now known.
And a final question, as I know a lot of people are waiting for you at this town hall. Will we see the cost and the size of the government Alberta decrease in coming years?
I would hope on both. I mean, one of the things that was done before I came in was limiting the year-over-year increases so that we could at least bring the cost of government in line with the other big provinces. I think that we look at an Ontario West approach, and we were very successful in doing that. And it's a matter of maintaining that discipline, that we have to find wasteful spending. We have to reduce it. Or eliminate it. We have to make sure that we're moving items from low priority to high priority so we can keep up with not only the promises that we've made to Albertans, but also the things that Albertans want. And that's going to be a constant process that we have to go through. So I'm looking forward to it. And I can give a couple of examples. You'll see that Minister Nate Glubish is going to be very key on this. So for instance, we've been for years using a paper-based approach for land titles, and we ended up with a massive 110-day backlog. We had to hire 60 people on a part-time temporary basis just to clear the backlog. But by investing $60 million in a technology-based solution, we'll be able to do that transfer in a day. And that's the kind of thing that you should expect that we'll be doing more of, is how can we use technology so that we can make our frontline workers more productive, give them more meaningful work to do, but also have a better experience for those who have to interact with government, so that it's efficient, it's effective, and those are the kind of things that we're looking for.
Well, you saw her today, right? I don't think she had the crowd completely wrapped around her finger. I mean, Albertans are, like, we asked her we gave her a very simple mandate, like make a couple of changes, cut taxes, take care of Alberta Health Services, get people who've been, illegally arrested because of COVID, like out of jail, stuff like that. And it's obvious she spent 30 years thinking about things in radio or whatever, so she knows about the problems, she can talk about the problems, but we asked her specifically to solve the problems. So I'm just not hearing a lot of solutions, and I think, well, and she does, somehow or other, she has a couple of blind spots, because she was arguing a few things, and then you read the room and it's like, what you're arguing is not resonating. So yeah, I think she, and I don't know if it's because she doesn't feel like she's fully supported by Albertans, or if she's scared of the NDP, because she mentioned, she didn't mention him by name, but she talked about Nenshi. Like, stop, my advice to Danielle is stop worrying about the NDP. You got 3 years, make the changes now, and then and make the changes so positive that the NDP won't even have a chance in 3 years from now.
Is that she's actually answering questions on all spectrums of all type of people in Alberta. It's not just one level of Albertan, it's every Albertan. And she seems to care about all specters of life.
Hey guys, you already know that Rebel News doesn't take handouts from the government. That's why we're able to provide you truly unbridled coverage, and that's why we're able to tell you the other side of the story, and that's because we aren't beholden to anybody. But the only reason we're able to get out here, the only reason we're able to ask these questions, and the only reason we're able to tell the other side of the story is because of support from people like you. So if you are able, I'd kindly consider asking you to chip in just a few bucks at rebelfieldreports.com to make the work that we do possible.